Well, you all wanted more of us. We're back again. And boy, we got a big show today here on Tinkle Sports Talk. Whew! We just read one of the articles we're going to talk about here. Let me just put it this way. It's juicy. It's juicy.
Oh, it's real juicy, man.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. If you haven't read up on it, definitely check it out.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was just talking to Brian about it before we started recording, and it might just have to be a book that, even though I'm not a big Pats fan, makes me kind of intrigued to find out about all their sneaky little tricks that made them such a great dynasty and eventually winning 6 championships.
Yep. And of course we're going to talk about that in just a minute here. But of course, coming up, we will talk about the new It's Better to Be Feared book written just released this past week. We're going to talk about some announcer changes in the NFL, something that's really intriguing. We've also got our week 4 picks, as well as our week 3 recap. But we start off this long and winding show. Yes, it's going to be a long one, so brace yourselves. We started off with MLB. Of course, today is the final day of the MLB season, game 162. What we know right now, the Yankees, the Mariners, the Red Sox, and the Blue Jays are all under a blanket right now. There is barely a game separating all these 4 teams for 2 wild cards. And if you know anything about baseball, there's no head-to-head tiebreakers to determine who gets into the playoffs. There's no points for, points against that determine it. The only thing that they use to determine it is a tiebreaker game, game 163. So before I ask you your thoughts on this, Jason, let me break it down. I just picked this up from a CBS Sports article. So after today, if 2 of these teams are tied for one of the wild cards, it's very straightforward. It's a 1-game tiebreaker, game 163, with home field advantage going to the team with the better head-to-head record. Now let's assume that 3 teams tie for 1 wild card. A, B, and C are assigned as noted, are assigned. Team B versus Team A, or it'll be winner Team A versus Team B, with the winner going against Team C with the bid at stake. So basically a round robin. And then of course, if all 4 teams tie, it'll be Team A versus Team B, Team C versus Team D. The winner of those two games will meet in the AL wildcard game.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
So, then of course, if 3 teams tie for both wild cards, kind of the same. Team B at Team A, winner gets the wild card. And then there will be a game 2, which the loser will play Team C, and that team the team that wins that game will get the remaining wild card. I know, I just fact bombed you all in the first 5 minutes of this show. Wow.
Hey Brian, I'm gonna cut you off a little bit there. Doesn't this not kind of remind you of something that happens in another sport?
Something that I've criticized a lot, the NBA.
Yes. But because this is exactly what it reminds me of a little bit.
But let's clarify this, okay?
But the only difference is that all 4 of these teams have winning records.
No. Here's the difference. This is a tiebreaker game. Okay?
Yeah,
this is the difference.
That is true.
Okay, these teams in the NBA, chances are one's below 500, the other 2 are average, and possibly the 4th team is above 500.
Right.
You know, there's differing records there. This is a full-on tiebreaker. So that's sort of the difference here. And I guess now we start off by saying, will we see remotely a game 163, 164? Is that going to be possible after this afternoon?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's going to be some more games being played before the wild card begins. All four teams are really good. I mean, Yankees are the Yankees.
Yeah.
I mean, we've stated it many times before. Blue Jays are very much making Toronto
Blue
and
Jays.
Buffalo
Keep in
proud.
mind. Keep in mind the Blue Jays play Baltimore, the worst team in the league right now. Compare that to Tampa Bay, the AL East champions, playing the New York Yankees. Compare that to Boston playing the Nationals. Okay.
So it kind of just sounds like the Blue Jays have the better chance, if anything.
Yep. Who are the Mariners playing here? They're playing the Angels. So the edge is,
again, like I said, pretty much the edge is to Toronto.
It's Toronto's wild card to lose here. Let me put it that way. It's their wild card to lose. And should I note, let me pull up the standings here on my screen so that way I have them. Toronto is one game out. They need the Yankees to lose, which is possible. Because keep in mind they play Tampa Bay tomorrow. It is possible that after today, because New York lost 12-2 earlier today. It's possible that could happen again. It is Michael Wacha versus Jamison Talon tomorrow on the mound for Tampa Bay versus New York. So no first pitchers here. However, this could go in the Red Sox direction too, because Chris Sale will be on the mound. And Chris Sale, a former Cy Young winner to my knowledge. Really, I mean, I'm not even going to mention Toronto versus Baltimore because, come on. I mean, do we really got to compare pitchers there? So, again, I think we're both in agreement here. This is Toronto's to lose. I mean,
Yeah, but if there's anything that, even though we could say that it could be Toronto's to lose, somehow, like, something makes me feel like that, like, the total opposite is going to happen, because that's totally what happens in sports.
See, now if Toronto and Seattle lose, this could all be decided, okay? Here's the thing, they both, let's see, they're both 1 and 1.5 games back. They both got a win tomorrow. Okay, now if they both lose, it doesn't matter. It's going to be the Red Sox and the Yankees battling for the wild card.
Right.
But, this is a tough one. I mean, the AL, here's the thing, the NL has already been decided. Dodgers are up 14 games in the National League wild card over the St. Louis Cardinals, who are the second wild card. Who are 8 games above the Cincinnati Reds and basically locked in. So the NL's already been long decided. So ultimately it's really just the AL that's up in the air. Yep, the AL is the only one up in the air at this point. And this is going to be an interesting... Here's the thing, I know it's Football Sunday, but this is going to be the most interesting Baseball Sunday I think we've seen in a really long time. So while you're watching your football games out there, people, I would keep a very sharp eye on what's going on in baseball, because we may be witnessing something uncharacteristic today.
Right.
I mean, something totally wild. So I'm excited for that. But let's move forward here. I think we both got our predictions out of the way. Sports Illustrated broke a big story this week, and it involves the commentary teams at NBC and the future commentary team at Amazon for next season. Al Michaels is rumored. Al Michaels, keep in mind, Al Michaels has called more Super Bowls than Pat Summerall at this point. He is called probably the most of any play-by-play announcer. He's called the Miracle on Ice, to my knowledge. He's called so many big events as a vast resume. He is reportedly being let go by NBC at the conclusion of this season to make room for his predecessor, which was expected to happen, but not this soon. Mike Tirico is expected to be the new voice of Sunday Night Football effective next season. With Al Michaels going to Amazon to be the new voice of Thursday Night Football. Jason, what are your thoughts here?
Right. I guess I'm okay with it only because Mike Tirico was already kind of there in a presence of the commentary booth with Chris Collinsworth. So it was all too much. It all makes so much sense for Mike Tirico to take over Al Michaels' job. But the thing is, like, I was also so confused of, like, what was Mike Tirico's actual, like, position in NBC. Because he was, you know, he would
really
be behind the scenes, then he would be in the booth, then he would be on the field. Like, it's so confusing of, like, what he would actually be doing as a commentator. And now to see that he's just gonna be in a booth with Chris Collinsworth, like,
I mean,
yeah, I know it's gonna take a while for me to get used to, you know, Mike Tirico.
And I think we lost connection there. It looks like we did lose connection, folks. So let's take an anchor break. We'll come back to the story in just a moment here. So we're going to just take our anchor break right now while we figure this whole internet thing out. Welcome back. My apologies, guys. My dad decided it was a great time to mess with the internet and decided to reset the router, which is why we lost Jason for a bit there.
Yeah.
So we'll pick up right where we left off. What are your thoughts here on Mike Tirico taking Al Michaels' job and Al Michaels going to Amazon?
Okay, so let me try to see if I can remember exactly what I was saying. What I said before that happened, it was that I guess it all made a hell of a lot of sense for Mike Tirico to take over for Al Michaels, as he was already, taking over for him, a few games out of the week or out of the year, taking over for Al Michaels, because sometimes they would be like Mike Tirico with Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth in a booth together, or sometimes they would be like one or two of them
on site, right? Like,
well,
because technically, like,
yeah, but wouldn't he technically be in a booth as well there too?
Not calling the game, but he would be the on-site host, like kind of like what Jack Collinsworth is doing right now.
Yeah, but Jack Collinsworth would also like be on the sidelines or somewhere in like the stands.
Yeah.
And also like talk about like who he thinks is gonna win the game, and then you wouldn't even see him for the rest of like
here's that guy.
The afternoon at all. But like I was saying before, Al Michaels is getting to that kind of age where I think that he is only gonna have a few more years. But then again, he kind of comes off as a guy that might do it till he can't do it anymore. And I also said that it wouldn't shock me if it ends up being like a Mike Tirico and then eventually Chris getting succeeded by his son, because I think Jack wants to follow his father's footsteps and being a commentator.
But I don't think he's going to be the color analyst. He never played football. That would probably be Drew Brees, is everything I've heard. So it'd be Tirico and Brees, which would make a good pairing. But can I just point this out real quick as I kind of dive in now? So let's look at First Take since Max Kellerman left. First Take's ratings have plummeted since they got rid of Max
Kellerman?
Yep.
Really?
Ever since Kellerman left, the ratings have plummeted. So these kinds of experiments are tough to play with, especially when Sunday Night Football is the most watched primetime show on TV. So this is a big gamble. This is like a James Holzhauer all-in type gamble. Okay. And keep in mind, Al Michaels, we can say he's 77 years old. He's still at the top of his game for someone that's 77 years old. He still calls an incredible game, despite having a lack of an IQ next to him in the booth.
Right.
Okay. But needless to say, this team has done very well. Here's saying nothing. I've always liked Tirico, and my thoughts on him have never changed. They've never wavered. Keep in mind, he is a Syracuse guy. He's a Syracuse alumni, should I note. So he knows the area pretty well up here. But I'm happy for Tirico. He's just, Sunday. He was on Monday Night Football. He was the commentator with John Gruden for years. He's been ready for this job. However, it should have gone out on Al Michaels' terms, not on NBC's terms.
Right.
Okay.
It should have been like Al Michaels had to retire before Mike Tirico was to take over his position. Not just, I think it's the right time to do it because we feel like it's right, not him. See, and it's kind of a low blow.
And here's the other issue that I take offense with here. Al Michaels was offered a chance to get traded back to ESPN not even a year ago, before Steve Levy took over as the play-by-play announcer for Monday Night Football. It could have very well been Al Michaels, Louis Riddick, and oh my gosh, who's the other guy? Bob Greasy there. It could have very well been those three guys calling Monday Night Football.
Which could have made it a little bit better to watch than it is right now. But
let's face it now, everyone watches the Mannings, okay? They watch Eli do the double bird at this point. They'd rather watch that than watch Marv Levy call a football game, even though he's done a good job. Or, I'm sorry, Steve Levy. I did that again. But, at the end of the day, though, Al Michaels, with this huge resume, with the huge football resume nonetheless, he should have been able to go out on his terms and not on his executives' terms, especially seeing how the ratings have been. Okay, to me, he had all the cards. Okay, it's like having a flush in hand and then being told, "Get the fuck out! You're out of here." Okay, you're banned. No explanation. Just get the fuck out. Okay, you're done.
Just pack up your bags and then just head on to the first flight out of here.
Yep. That's basically what it's like. And keep in mind, Mike Tirico was initially brought in to replace Bob Costas, who was anti-football at the time. Keep in mind, Bob Costas is very anti-football. He hates football. He was forced to call it by the executives at NBC, but he hated it for the fact of the brain injuries that it caused. You can look it up if you don't believe me. There's articles on it. That's actually why he got pulled from his last Super Bowl appearance. But, man, can I just say that I miss Liam McHugh? I wish he was back at NBC calling football. In the studio, I mean. But anyway, let's move on here. I think we got.
I was about to say again. I don't even know who that is, but it's alright.
Liam McHugh is that younger guy that called football last year when Mike Tirico was in the booth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But anyway, let's move on here. There's a new book being published. Actually, it was just published. It's on Amazon right now. You guys can buy it. It is called "It Is Better to Be Feared" by an ESPN writer wrote this book. Keep in mind, it kind of goes off the article of the power struggle the other year, and it dives more deeply into the troubles of the Patriots Dynasty. And based on what we know, I guess, can we now automatically assume that these tensions were real and deep, or is this blown out of proportions? And before I let you answer, let me just read off some of the excerpts here. Bill O'Brien purposely tried to sabotage his job with the Houston Texans. So now, did he just make himself look stupid? Okay, is that the real question here? Did Bill O'Brien just make himself intentionally look like the dumbest coach in the world to lose his job? Then Robert Kraft, on his way to Detroit, said that Bill Belichick is the biggest fucking asshole in his life right now, and that he is an idiot savant. Tom Brady took team-friendly deals, had no input on how the money was spent, much like Aaron Rodgers' situation right now. But obviously Aaron Rodgers not taking pay cuts, clearly. And then, of course, he said to close friends that he did not want to play for Belichick anymore back in 2017. Bill Belichick then divided the locker room to start the 2016 season by endorsing then-candidate Donald Trump in the 2016 election, which divided the locker room. Malcolm Butler then, in the Super Bowl against the Eagles, got in a rift with Matt Patricia, who was, by the way, outgoing to Detroit. It was not known then, but they knew it. So they butted heads prior to the Eagles' Super Bowl, which led to his benching and eventually led to his release because he kept bad-mouthing the organization after the Super Bowl loss. So now, again, I ask, based on what we know, can we automatically assume that these tensions are as dramatic and as real as they are made out to be? Or is this so blown out of proportion that this guy's just looking for an easy book sale?
No, I think it was definitely serious tension between those three. Because, you read all about it. From what I'm hearing, Belichick does sound like the biggest, asshole out there. Was trying any way he could to, like, there was even an excerpt in there, we didn't have it written down, but there was also one that I read up that said that Belichick and Goodell came up together in meetings or on a plane and went over rule changes, which, how other way, can you explain that he just found any kind of loophole in the rules? If he didn't know already about like some of these rule changes, he wouldn't have known about, he would have definitely have known about loopholes. Hence why there was all those, times where he could get away with, all those, gates like the Flake Gate and Spy Gate and, all these rule changes. He would just find loopholes in, and hence why, the dynasty was a lot bigger than it probably could have been. And if it wasn't for any, him knowing any of those rule changes, I'm pretty sure the Pats wouldn't have been the big old dynasty they were. A lot of it could be like, well, was it mostly Brady? Was it Belichick? Was it Kraft? Or was it all three? I think it's a little bit of all three, because Belichick had to know a lot of the rules to make, the team good. Brady was just a brilliant player, but how much of it was, it's tough to tell, because, last year Brady definitely, took a very, underwhelming Tampa team the last couple of years, and then took them to the Super Bowl and won. But then, how much of, with Brady knowing what he has learned in his time in Tampa Bay, or in New England, how much did he use that to also help out, Tampa Bay too? And then Kraft is just Robert Kraft. I mean, he's an old senile old man that just will do whatever he can to, make that franchise, feared. No pun intended. Because, I hate to say it, for that long a time, they were literally winning the division every single year, except for 1 year where Brady was hurt. But other than that, like they were just running rampant of the AFC East. And then you question now after hearing these excerpts how much of that was just like they were trying any other way they could, even if it meant they had to bend the rules, they had to cheat a little bit to get there. How much of that was just like they had to do everything they could just to beat the juggernauts. And I hate to say it, if Brady, or actually, I will say this now. If you think about it, if it wasn't for Drew Bledsoe getting hurt like over 20 plus years ago, there would be no Tom Brady right now. There really wouldn't be.
There'd be no It's Better to Be Feared book. It was more like it.
Well, there too. Oh, and also this. I heard about this too. This is not in a book, but heading into the 2000 season, I don't know if you saw this, but he was a fourth-string quarterback heading into the season. The reason why Belichick didn't release him onto like free agency is because he saw something in Tom Brady, and that he was too too valuable to lose. Could you imagine if he did get cut, went to a different team, and made a different team a juggernaut? Like that, this would have made things in the AFC East. It would have made everything just totally different, honestly.
But here's the thing. Can I just ask? I just want to throw this out there because obviously, here's the thing. Tom Brady wouldn't be Tom Brady without Bill Belichick.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Throughout his first, 17, 18 years. Okay? There's no way Tom Brady would have been anywhere close or even remotely near what this Tom Brady is today if it wasn't for Bill Belichick. He owes Bill Belichick a good chunk of his life. Okay? But I will say, going back to the article a few years ago on the power struggle in New England, this is not a surprise that we now have a book out about this. And in a world now where we have fake news, we have alternative facts. I don't want to dive into the politics of it, but I will just say we live in a world now where there are alternative facts. And there are stories that people will not believe if it's on mainstream media. So, it's hard to tell if the story is blown out of proportion for that reason. But I will say that I think without a doubt, and I'm not going to talk about if Belichick was right or wrong on endorsing Donald Trump, but I will say I could see how that would divide a locker room because of Donald Trump's demeanor. So, again, I could see, based on that rhetoric, why this would divide a locker room. But it looks like they pulled it together enough to get to the Super Bowl. And,
eventually lose.
Eventually lose. But I will say this. Did Adam Schefter know something and just waited till Brady's contract year to say it? That's another thing, because Adam Schefter was on many ESPN shows leading up to the 2019 season saying Tom Brady will not return to New England, and dropping bombs saying he sold his house in New England. He's talking with LA and with my team and with the Buccaneers. Okay. Did he know something in advance and kind of just keep his trap shut? What role does he have in this book? That's one question I have. Now, I do want to read this book, obviously, just for the sake of knowing more about what happened in this dynasty, but based on all the excerpts, a lot of this just comes as a shock. I mean, now I question, is Bill O'Brien a smarter coach than we gave him credit for? Is the first question.
He might, but then again, you also, you read about it, and, he might have been a smarter guy than we thought about. But then again, he
Yeah.
might also be stupid as all hell, because why would you throw away? But the thing is about it is there was also a thing about him and the GM of the Texans were also, not seeing eye to eye. Of course, it eventually led to Bill O'Brien being the GM and the head coach of the Houston Texans. But why would you throw away being a GM and the head coach? I know he wasn't that great at it.
He was fired.
But, yeah, that's true. He did get fired. But why would you have, thrown away? He honestly took the Texans to the playoffs, just about every year that he coached, except for the year that he got fired, which was, last year?
Yeah. But did he purposely throw it, is the big question. Did he purposely throw it just for the sake of, we can, if I get fired, I can go back to New England, or maybe I can go to Alabama, which he did, by the way. He went to Alabama, and now, eventually get a reset on his career. But again, there's so many fishy things in the excerpts that we read. And obviously, we've only got the spark notes of it. But I will say that I don't think much of this is blown out of proportion. But it definitely leaves you wanting to read more about this.
What I also found interesting was about the Mike Shanahan stuff.
Yeah.
Because, Bill Belichick seems to be a genius because I couldn't have thought about that beforehand. Yeah. Well, the thing is, Mike, you didn't have to, because when you won back-to-back Super Bowls, you had John Elway as your quarterback. Why would you have needed to cheat when you already had a dynasty of a team, back-to-back years? It could very well, a lot of it could be played, out of proportion, but it's definitely something where you want to read and think if it is for yourself or not. So
here's the thing.
I think it's an interesting read, for any sports, let alone any sports or any football fan. I think it would definitely be an interesting read.
If you're
especially for a guy that's not a big reader at all, this is something that probably would keep me glued and not want to move away from the book until I go from page 1 to the last page of the book.
Can I just point out, I've had this sitting on my desk for almost a year now, and I still haven't read it. That should tell you how much I actually read. But I just want to say, I'm considering this, honestly, just on the fact of, I want to hear more about this. And, again, going off of, all I can say is just wow right now, based on all this. But I will say about the Spygate, now that I remember what I was going to say. With Spygate, it may not have been a rule per se at the time, but there are unwritten rules. There are morals that should be followed. And it shows that Bill Belichick is an immoral coach on that standpoint. And to read also that Roger Goodell supposedly had a really good relationship with the New England Patriots compared to other franchises, this is a big conflict of interest, too, on Roger Goodell. Okay. Because now...
This could really get him underwater because of all that is coming out now.
And should I point out, too, Sean Payton was suspended a full year for the Bounty Gate.
Right, that is
Sean
true.
Payton and a handful of coaches received big suspensions for that Bounty Gate, and that tarnished the New Orleans Saints for at least 2, 3, 4 years. They were irrelevant. Okay.
Oh, I know.
For at least 2, 3, 4 years, they were irrelevant. I wasn't sure if Sean Payton was going to remain the New Orleans head coach at the end of this. Why wasn't this same punishment handed down to Bill Belichick? Okay, at the end of the day, I mean, Deflategate, he should have been suspended 8 games for Deflategate, you know, regardless of his part in it. Because, again, we don't know what part Sean Payton had in this bounty gate. Okay, to my knowledge, I don't think he had any part in this. This happened behind the scenes from him, even.
Mm-hmm.
I'll read up on it to be sure. I was going to do that during the Tinkle break, but we had a little glitch that kind of moved that up. But, you know, at the end of the day, with Spygate should have gotten Bill Belichick suspended a season. Okay?
Right.
Plain and simple. Bill Belichick should have been suspended for 1 year. Just on that. And frankly, Robert Kraft should have been fined a hefty amount. Draft picks should have been lost for at least a couple years. You know, a couple first rounders lost for 2 years. Because that's a big deal. Okay?
Right.
That is a huge deal. So that's my points I want to make there. I will say, though, it wouldn't shock me, though, if some of this is blown out of proportion. This is just an angry writer. But to me, though, based on what I've read thus far, about the power struggle article a few years ago, the excerpts of this book, something as far as this dynasty doesn't quite add up. As far as, you know, did they have tension, did they not? But we'll see.
That'll always be the unanswered question right there.
Yep. So, anyway, let's get on to our Week 3 NFL recap now. I think I started it off last week, so maybe this week we'll let Jason start it off with his... We're going to do 3 this week just because we kind of took a while on that Belichick and New England story here.
Right. I'm probably going to change it around, or not really change it around, but like kind of like in the order of things.
Yeah.
So I really do think that Jamar Chase has been nothing but amazing as a rookie receiver this season. Joe Burrow is really in a resurgence as a quarterback. Like, this is like almost like the Joe Burrow from LSU playing. And who better to have than his former top receiver in Jamar Chase? Jamar Chase is... I don't know if he's leading in touchdowns for rookie receivers or not, but he's pretty close there. And honestly, the way that he's been playing and the way he's been going this year, if he can pull that off for the whole entire season, I just think that he might be the best rookie receiver since Randy Moss. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he might not have the touchdowns that Randy Moss had his rookie year. Of course, that was also a different time, and he was just a hell of a lot different player than Jamar Chase is. But if Jamar Chase was to be able to have the touchdowns along with the yards, don't be shocked if Jamar Chase ends up being a Pro Bowler in his very first season. And it's tough, and it's really tough to say that, you know, to do that for, especially, you know, the Bengals. The Bengals have been pretty trash for a couple of years. To see them 3-1, I'm like, all right. You know, this is a Bengals team we haven't seen in quite some time. You know, probably since Ocho Cinco and Carson Palmer years. Actually, you know, I can't even say that. Probably the Dalton and the AJ Green years. We haven't really seen the Bengals being good since Dalton and AJ Green.
Here's the thing. Can we go as far to say that Jamar Chase is currently the best rookie out of the 32 that were drafted in the first round?
Yeah, of course. I think so.
And can I also just say that Asante Samuel Jr. is also in that top 5, but I'll let you continue.
Yes. I mean, you're probably right. He definitely is. So, Jamar Chase is definitely up there. I just think that, like I said, with the way that he's going, I mean, I know it's still early, 3 weeks into the season, with 14 more weeks to be played. It just, is it too early to tell? Honestly, I don't think so. I honestly, like, he wouldn't have already, had those kind of games if it wasn't, real. And just the speed and the athleticism is definitely there for him. And then having Joe Burrow on the top of his game after being out, basically all of last year, definitely shows that I think the LSU connection is definitely going to be strong for years to come in Cincinnati. I'm probably going to go with this one next. I just don't think the Washington football team defense isn't what others are saying it is. Everybody's saying, "Oh, well, Washington has the greatest defense. They have four former first-round picks as their front four." Yeah, it's all fine and dandy, but if they can't get the sacks, if they can't, brutalize opposing offenses, then I'm sorry, the Washington football team just ain't what it's cut out to be. It just wasn't there at all. Couldn't get any pressure onto Buffalo. Of course, the question could be, well, how much of that was just Buffalo's offensive line holding up against a good Washington football team defense? Yeah, that's cool and all, but if you look at it, they weren't really able to hold up against the Steelers defense. Of course, they have T.J. Watt, they have the guys that they have on that defense. And then if you look at Washington, they have Chase Young, they have Montez Sweat, they have a bunch of other guys on that defensive front. They just couldn't get to Josh Allen at all. And then this also leads to my last point. Yes, it was only 1 week, but man, did Josh Allen look like the player he was from last year in that game against a supposed top defense in Washington.
I think this puts Josh Allen in the MVP discussion once again.
I still think it's a little too early because it was only one game out of, a long season. Now, if he can put up those numbers against, against the really top teams, and of course I'll bring up, if they can do that against, Tampa Bay or Kansas City, Tennessee, I will say Buffalo has an easier schedule this year than they did last year. But I said it last week, and I'm going to say it again this week. Buffalo's defense has been the most consistent this year than they were last year. And I will say, you were saying about Asante Samuel Jr., I'm going to say about Gregory Rosa. I think he has been a very impactful defensive end for the Bills, and so has A.J. Epinesa. A.J. Epinesa this year looks like he's been a pro for 10, 15 years. Yeah. I think this Buffalo Bills team is hungrier than they were last year. They're also giving up a lot less points this year than they were last year already. Apparently, I saw on ESPN, they're giving up 8 less points than they did last year, which means that when they were focusing on defense after that tough loss to Kansas City last year, means that they did their job. And I will say, I've been trusting this process for the last, 5 years now, and honestly, I think it's worth it because Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott, their scouts that they have put together on that team, I think are probably top in the NFL. Every time I think this is probably going to be, not an impactful player, or who the heck is this guy? Or is he really going to, come into this team and really make an impact? Honestly, of all the draft picks that we have honestly accumulated over the years with this team and the GM, honestly, they've come in and they've just been very impactful players, from Matt Milano, Tre'Davious White, Tremaine Edmonds to Gregory Rousseau, AJ Epinesa, you know, to like a Josh Allen, to a Devin Singletary. You look at that and I'm like, wow. Most of that team that they've put together are draft picks. Just let that settle in. Just let that settle in.
Oh yeah. Then all right.
That's my takeaways of week 3.
So, I'm gonna try to just start this off with Matt Stafford and the Rams here. Can I just say that they are going to have a say in this NFC Championship? Okay, they are currently.
Oh come on, now definitely
outside of Tampa Bay, they are the second best team in the NFC. Now, I would go as far to say Green Bay right now, but look at who Green Bay has played the last 2 weeks. Okay, can we really judge them yet? I still think it's too soon to really get a good gauge on what Green Bay is going to be able to do. So with that said, it's going to come down to Matt Stafford and the Rams versus Tom Brady and the Bucs. I don't think there's any doubts here about it. And that's regardless of if Gronk still misses time. Because keep in mind, Gronk is out with rib injuries right now. But I think that's regardless. Right. I think that's a safe bet. I wouldn't even be shocked if LA takes down Tom Brady and the Bucs.
I mean, they've already done it before. They could honestly do it again. Plus, this Rams team, don't be shocked. They're only just beginning.
Yeah.
I think they're going to get better as the weeks go by.
Exactly.
They could be the team that puts up the most point, average the most points of any team in the NFL, which is tough to do because I think the last team that did that, to my knowledge, I think was Philadelphia when it was their Super Bowl run.
And here's the thing, the NFC is building dynasties in all the right places right now. Okay, Tom Brady in Tampa Bay with Bruce Arians as the head coach. Bruce Arians, one of the greatest offensive minds in all of football, should I note. Then, of course, you got Matt Stafford in L.A. with Sean McVay, who has built an incredible culture over there with the Rams and has built such a great system over there. Imagine now if Seattle got rid of Pete Carroll, what they could build, and they hired someone who could build a culture there. I mean, just imagine it. It could be great. Okay.
Just imagine. I'm just gonna say this now. Just imagine if the Seattle Seahawks had like a Sean McVay, like a Sean McDermott type of coach in that system. Oh, dude, they would be speed.
Yeah.
Their whole culture and their whole team in itself would just be 10 times better than it is right now.
Okay. But now my second point is here, and actually I'm going to pose a question to the viewers and to you. Is Mitchell Trubisky just smarter than we all made him out to be the last 4 years? Okay, is he really a smarter quarterback than we made him out to be? Because
I think so, because he took that terrible Matt Nagy offense to like couple playoff appearances, and last year he took the Bears to a wild card team, and a team that probably shouldn't have even made the playoffs in general. Mitchell Trubisky, I think, is a lot smarter and a lot better than people give him credit for. I will say that now.
Here's the thing. Everybody said for 4 years this kid could not read an offense. They said he could not read a defense. They basically made him out like the guy straight up just dropped out of thin air, never learned to read, didn't learn to do anything, just dropped in and said, "I come to play quarterback." Like, come on. I mean, look at what... honestly, I'm not even going to look at the rankings. I don't even think you have to look at the rankings right now to realize that the Bears have the worst offense in all of football right now. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of it, here's the thing, I don't think much of it can be blamed on Justin Fields. I mean, I know I said Justin Fields was a bust to begin with, and I'm standing by that statement that he's going to be a bust.
Oh, yeah, he definitely is going to be a bust because look at that week he had against the Browns. But first off, he got sacked like crazy, but if you see his completion percentage was like probably the worst among rookie quarterbacks all that week.
Oh, yeah. But no, I made that statement based on the fact of where he went to college. Okay, I didn't need to see anything else to base it on. I still stand by that statement, and to be honest, there's no doubt that if Matt Nagy doesn't get fired after this year, then they're going to be a basement dweller. In fact, I think they'll be more of a basement dweller than the Detroit Lions will be. I would go as far to say that, and I think, like I said, this proves that Trubisky was not the issue over there. Because, if Trubisky could lead that offense to a playoffs and he leaves and now they can't even get out of their own way, this says a lot about them. And
if you think about Mitchell Trubisky, now he's learning under Josh Allen, who has really changed around his, luck as of late.
Yeah.
If Mitchell Trubisky can learn under that system, under Brian Dable, become that kind of quarterback, watch out because he might be a hot commodity heading after this season because he's only on a 1-year deal. He might be a hot free agent heading into the next season, the off season. Who knows?
And need I mention too, not that I wish for it, but let's just assume Josh Allen gets obliterated this week. Okay, let's just put that out there. Let's say Josh Allen gets obliterated. He gets put on IR, probably designated to return. So now you're stuck with Trubisky for 3 to 6 weeks. And let's just say he goes out there and just shines. I mean, he puts on a clinic those 3 to 6 weeks. Now, obviously, he's not going to take Josh Allen's job. They know he's the quarterback.
Clearly not.
But now you talk about, man, did we underestimate Mitchell Trubisky or what? And the Giants are going to be sitting there saying, man, did we really just trade away? Did we really just trade down a pick to lose him? But can I also just say this? Could this potentially prove that Daniel Jones might just be smarter than he's showing right now? Because now we got to keep posing that question. And I think Mitchell Trubisky has opened up that argument now that some of these quarterbacks that are on weaker teams with not so good offensive minds, are they as good? Are they as bad as they're made out to be? Could we be talking about Trevor Lawrence like this in a year or two? Could we be talking about, Zach Wilson? I mean, we can even make that argument right now about Sam Darnold, because look at what Sam Darnold's doing in Carolina.
Oh, that's true too.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm just saying, Mitchell Trubisky has now opened that door. He hasn't even stepped on the field yet this season, and that door is now open for a debate.
Now, is this also a question to say that he just might be one of the better backups right in the NFL right now because of that, of that coming out? Like, he might be just one of those backups where, like, if there was a situation that, like, your starting quarterback somehow struggles, somehow, gets hurt, and he comes in the game, your head coach would be like, he kind of took a crappy offense to the playoffs a couple of times. I feel confident that he can go out there with with a really good offense and do even better with that, type of thing. So
might we owe an apology to Colin Cowherd? I'm not going to discuss that. I plead the fifth. Anyway, let's move forward here. And now I'm going to bring up the Kansas City Chiefs. Can I just first off say woo about that win? But anyway, I'm going to make this very clear. Okay? I can't make it any clearer than this. You can pick up Josh Gordon. You could pick up Larry Fitzgerald tomorrow. But one thing's going to remain the same, Kansas City. You don't run the AFC anymore. You can relinquish that title in week number 3. Okay? You have officially castrated yourselves out of the first... Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to get canceled for this statement, but you can officially just castrate yourself to the Buffalo Bills and the Cleveland Browns because they now run the AFC. Okay?
You know,
and you can say...
It's funny you say this because watch... Like,
that is a terrible,
you know what would
term.
be? You know what's going to now happen? Watch them just go on a tear, and then your statement just like make you look like you're just like
nope. I'm telling you,
biggest dumbass ever.
let me just explain it. Okay, week 1. Assume that the punt wasn't botched by Cleveland, because there's a chance there Cleveland would have won that game.
Right.
Okay.
True.
Week 2, okay, they got taken to the clock by Baltimore, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumbled. And don't say, well, Mahomes was going to lead a comeback. Okay, ignore that for just a second, because, he may very well have, but did he? No.
No.
Okay.
Not.
Same thing was said about the Chargers game. I saw some pretty salty Chiefs fans that say the Chargers didn't beat the Chiefs beat themselves. Really, and then they're saying, oh, well, Mahomes was going to lead touchdown drives, those turnovers, those drives he led turnovers. Whether it was Helaire fumbling, Hill fumbling, Mahomes' 2 picks. Let me just state again. Let me just pose the question again. Did he lead a scoring drive any of those turnover drives? No. That's what I thought. And so, I'm just going to say drop it, Chiefs fans, okay? Just accept the fact that you are no longer the team to beat in the AFC. And quite frankly, the way Mahomes played in that fourth quarter... I mean, he was running for his life again, just like he was in the Super Bowl. Okay?
Right.
Teams have figured him out. Okay? Let me put it this way. If every team can box him in and make him have to throw a wild throw, then guess what? Chiefs will be lucky to get out of second place in the division. I think they're going to win the division still. I just want to clarify. I still think they're going to win the division. Will they win the number 1 seed? Probably not. Will they make the AFC Championship? We'll see. But I'm telling you...
that's still going to be a very good
but I'm telling
good
you,
question
you take away home advantage from them. I think you've got them, and I think that's a very real possibility just based on how Buffalo and Cleveland have been playing. And you may say, oh, the Browns are undefeated. The Raiders are undefeated. The Broncos are undefeated. Don't give me that. They both had, like I said, we know the Raiders are going to melt down. It's a matter of time.
Right.
They're a ticking time bomb every year. Then on top of it, the Broncos have had the most Mickey Mouse season of any Mickey Mouse season there ever has been. Okay,
true.
we mocked the Steelers last year for being the worst 11-0 team. Broncos just said hold my beer on that. Okay, they just called hold my beer. So again,
the only thing that they have going for themselves is a really good defense.
Yeah,
that's about it.
Exactly. Which, frankly, Bradley Chubb still can't stay healthy. But
that's all right. They don't need him when they have Von Miller literally leading their defense every single week. I mean, that's all they really need.
I love and hate Von Miller. You have no clue.
I mean, when you're one of the best defensive ends out there, it's kind of I can see it. Like you would hate. Okay, he's a player you hate to go up against, but you love to see play.
Yeah. Exactly. That's kind of where I'm at. But anyway, let's go on to our picks for the week here. That's it for my recap. Let's start out with the football team versus the Falcons. Washington, a 1.5 point favorite.
I mean, can we just say that I called them beating the Giants, by the way. But this one's a tough one. This one is a tough one. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna throw this out there, and I think Washington will get back on track after that loss to the Falcons. I think they're gonna go 2-2. I think Atlanta's gonna go 1-3.
Mm-hmm.
But if Washington can't keep on track, then I want to say Atlanta will, put a good spanking on them. But I want to go Washington over Atlanta here.
I'm just going to say about Washington and Buffalo last week, I think Washington still has a very good defense. But I will say that they are better off matching up against so-so teams. They ran into a buzzsaw last week when it came to Buffalo. Okay, they ran into a team. They ran into a team that was high on their luck entering the game. They had high confidence. They really lost the game when they entered the building. At the end of the day, I still don't think we can write off Washington winning this division. And I'm just gonna say Heineke still puts them in the best situation to win. Therefore, I'm taking Washington in Week 4. Speaking of the Bills, the next game is the Buffalo Bills, and boy, if you could only see how much they're favorited by.
Oh yeah, I heard that they're favored by 16 points or something like that.
Up it
the
by
most
one.
That they've been
it's 17. No. 17-point favorites. Do we want to even make our pick on this one? Because I think we both know who we're taking.
I mean, come on now. You have a really you have a top 5 defense going up against a rookie quarterback, which, by the way, I don't know if you know about this. Apparently, he has the highest QBR of any rookie quarterback in the NFL right now. That's just insane. That's kind of sad.
We got another Gardner Minshew on our hands, except instead of the stash and Uncle Rico lookingness, he's just got a big ass neck.
yes, he does. But I'm gonna have to go with the hometown, the home team here. I'm gonna have to go with Buffalo, and who knows? It could very well be an onslaught. But if there's any player that I'm worried about going off in this game, it's Brandon Cooks. The man is just a streaky player, no matter what team he goes for.
I agree.
Can we just say that Brandon Cooks is underrated wide receiver in the NFL right now? Because no matter what team he goes on, he just finds success.
Absolutely. I can agree with that. What I will say here is I just want to say about the 17-point favorites, I would have disagreed about this if Tyrod Taylor was the starter.
Oh, for sure.
I would have said Tyrod would have
sure.
No, I would have said
Tyrod would have gone into that game pissed off that he got replaced by the man who is currently the starting quarterback. Going into the building that he played for I think 4 years or something like that. I think it was there from 2016 to... No, wait.
Yeah.
I think 2015 to... 2017, I think. 2015 to 2017.
So, I just want to say, I'm not going to write off... You're saying, if Tyrod played, I wouldn't have written off Buffalo. Or I wouldn't have been, so confident. I would have predicted Buffalo, but I wouldn't have been so confident in predicting them because I would have said, watch out for the upset. Here I can say with full confidence it's going to be Buffalo winning this game. We got ourselves a tank bowl on the next one here. The Bears are going against the Lions. Chicago is a 3-point favorite here.
I don't know if I like how Chicago is getting the advantage over Detroit. Because I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm seeing it on NFL.com. Bears to start QB Justin Fields
Yep.
with Dalton knee doubtful.
Yep, that's what I read too.
I'm just gonna say this now. Detroit's gonna get their first win against a crappy Chicago team. Yeah, their defense is not like Cleveland's whatsoever, but I think Jared Goff is going to go outshine Justin Fields out there. So I'm going with Detroit getting their first win, and honestly, I think Detroit should have got their first win already. I'm shocked they are 0-3. But
they should
I really do think that Jared Goff's going to be like Jared Goff out there and put on a clinic in Chicago.
They should be 1-2. That I will say.
I agree. I agree.
I'm going with Detroit as well. Jared Goff has not won yet without Sean McVay. That's going to change this week. That's what I will say. Next up, we got a battle. Undefeated Carolina Panthers facing off against the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas is somehow a 4-point favorite in this.
Wow. I mean, I guess I can see it. This one I think is going to be, like, if I could watch it, because I'll be at work.
So will I.
And I'll actually be listening to the game because I'm going to be at Darien Lake tomorrow. So I'll be listening to the game while taking in cars. I've done it before, so but if I could honestly watch this game as well as listen to the other game, because I'm pretty sure it's going to be televised on I think on Fox.
Fox will televise it. They always love to televise.
If I could watch this game, I definitely would. It really is tough for me to choose a victor in this one. This one is, I really think that is going to be the top game of the week. Of course, we do have another top game of the week that we'll talk about in the later weeks, in the later time spot. Yeah. But if I had to go with anybody, I honestly think I'm going to go with the upset. I think I'm going to choose Dallas over Carolina, only because they have a better overall team than Carolina does right now.
See, Dallas, other than Diggs, doesn't have much of a defense right now. I think that's a very safe assumption to make. I mean, Diggs is their whole defense at this point.
Which is hilarious because you have another Diggs that is out there that's just doing wonders.
I'm gonna go with the Panthers just because of the fact that it's, again, as long as you don't throw it Diggs' way, you might have a shot of winning this game. Let's be fair. Dallas should be 1-2 as well because they should have lost to LA.
But the problem is that with Christian McCaffrey being out, you don't know how this Hubbard guy is gonna do.
Yeah,
you don't know if he did all right coming in for injured Christian McCaffrey, but you don't know how he's gonna do against that Dallas defense. Dallas defense is a lot more than I give him credit for. That offense is also.
Yeah.
All right. They're not the best, but better than they have been.
That's another thing, obviously.
So, I really do think that this is going to be a game where Sam Darnold's going to have to throw it a lot more than he's probably used to. Yeah. So, don't be shocked if Sam Darnold looks like Sam Darnold of old in this game. And that Dallas just rocks his day, honestly. Hate to say it.
Back to the Trubisky
that's why I had to go with the upset here.
Yep. Colts, Dolphins. Dolphins 2.5 right now. Keep in mind, Tua will not be playing.
Yep, it will be Jacoby Brissett going up against his former team. This is going to be interesting. I'm going to go with Miami. I really do think that Jacoby Brissett came really close to beating the Raiders last week. I think this week he'll actually get the win. And who better to do it against his former team? Team that he did all right with. I think he went 7-9 or 6-10 or something like that with them when he was the starting quarterback.
Yep.
I hate to say it, I've said it before. Jacoby Brissett just makes the most sense for a former Patriots assistant turned head coach because they already have that, they already have that chemistry together, and apparently it's kind of working to Brian Flores' standards.
Yep.
And don't be shocked if, like, eventually with Tua, if he can't stay healthy, if this is Jacoby's Brissett's team going forward. But I just think that because of Indianapolis struggling, and I don't know if Carson Wentz is, really healthy right now. Like he might be, he's gonna be playing, but how much of it is how much is he 100% healthy? Are we gonna see we haven't really seen the Carson Wentz of old so far this year.
Yeah, I think that's going to change.
You think you're going Indianapolis?
Yep, I'm going Indy here.
Oh my goodness.
To be honest, I like Brissett. It's going to be a close game, but I will say that I think Indy. Here's the thing: Carson Wentz doesn't have to run here; he just has to protect himself. At the end of the day, and I think at the end of it, he's going to have Pittman downfield. I believe he's still got. Here's the thing: I heard Mac might get traded. I don't know how true that is.
Oh yes, I did hear about that.
So he's in the trade discussion. He's got Jonathan Taylor in the backfield still that he can hand it off to.
Honestly, they really should just get rid of him because he's not really getting much production on behind Nyheim Hines and Jonathan Taylor. So.
Oh yeah. But anyway.
And they're all three of them are pretty good backs. So.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Browns, Vikings. Browns are only a 1-point favorite in this matchup.
That kind of makes a little bit of sense to me because Minnesota did shock me a little bit there, in that in that win that they had. I honestly didn't think that they were going to beat. Who did they beat? I think they beat Seattle, right? Yeah. I didn't think they were. Honestly, I didn't think that Minnesota was going to beat Seattle. And speaking of Seattle, I'm shocked that they are 1-2 to start the season. It kind of shocks me. Cleveland, after that game against Chicago, I think is finally getting the pieces put together. But don't be shocked if this ends up being an offensive battle between both of these teams, because we've seen it, last week with Minnesota. And Cleveland is definitely destined to do it. I think the only thing that's going to be on Cleveland's side this week is just Myles Garrett is just hungry.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to go with Cleveland over Minnesota in this game. I really do think that Myles Garrett is going to go off strong like he did last week. Don't be shocked if Kirk Cousins has a very rough day having to deal with Myles Garrett in his face a lot.
Yep. I'm going to go Cleveland. Again, I think Cleveland's just the better team at the end of the day. I'm not buying Minnesota yet. And also the other thing, will Dalvin Cook be playing is the other question, which we'll need an answer to. But anyway, moving on here. Do we even have to make a pick for these next 3 games that I'm going to list off? Do we even have to make a pick? At least 2 out of the 3. Giants, Saints 7-point favorites. I think we both know who we're going here.
Oh, yeah, for sure, the Saints.
Yep, Saints. We don't even have to explain it, so we'll just move on. Titans and Jets. Titans 6-point favorites. Keep in mind, no Julio Jones, no A.J. Brown, though. So maybe we'll get
Ooh, good. That means good things for my fantasy team because I have Derrick Henry, who is probably just going to go off. Yeah. Don't be shocked if King Henry does go off, and I think he might have not 1, not 2, but maybe 3 or 4 touchdowns in that game. I mean, it's against a crappy Jets team, so don't be shocked. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure if I already saw, the Jets are ranked 30th against the run right now. So, good luck, Jets fans. Because when you have to deal with King Henry, and he's known to throwing around defenders with that nasty stiff arm of his. Don't be shocked if he ends up having like a 200-yard rush game and like a couple, 4 touchdowns or something like that in this game. Because, hate to say it, it might just happen.
Yeah.
They're going to feed Henry in this game, and I think they're going to give, it's going to be a sad taste in the Jets' mouth as they go 0-4.
I'm having a tough time picking this game. No Julio Jones, no A.J. Brown. Oh, man. Do I lean toward the Jets? No, I'm going to stay with the Tennessee Titans. I just had to lead you all on. Anyway, let's go on here. Chiefs and Eagles. The Chiefs on a 2-game losing streak. So are the Eagles, I believe. And the Chiefs are 6.5 favorites as Andy Reid returns to Philadelphia.
This one's a tough one. Because, you just don't know who could go in there. Because Kansas City has had some offense struggles. I mean, don't get me wrong, Philadelphia definitely has too. I'm going to give the edge to Kansas City. I think 6-point favorite seems a little fair in a sense. But I really do think that Kansas City will, struggle to start out the gate, but don't be shocked in the second half of the game if they get things going and it helps them win this game. But if you told me at the start of the season that Kansas City would have started off the year 2-2, I would have told you you're a freaking liar and a half.
Yeah.
But now to see them possibly go to 2-2, 500 in the first 4 games, about, I'm like, wow. I'm shocked. I'm really shocked and awed.
Yeah.
Because in years past, they would have easily been 3-0, 4-0 to start the year. But they go 2-2. I'm just, I just have to say, wow.
Yep. I'm gonna go Chiefs here. I think they're gonna put together such a convincing win that it's gonna make everyone say they're back in the AFC hunt, and certainly back to riding Mahomes.
Coattails.
Yeah, thank you. I was about to go another direction. So I didn't want to do that and then get in trouble later. So I think they'll have a convincing win. How's about this matchup? This may, there's a lot of hype about the later game, but this one might just be the game of the week here. Cardinals and Rams. Kyler Murray is leading everything in the passing categories. Matt Stafford's up there in the passing categories right now. But how are the Rams only 4-point favor? Or how are the Rams 4-point favorites? Okay, can I just ask that question? How is this game not a 1-point favorite?
I'm not too sure. This one, I think, is definitely the game of the week. This one by far is the game of the week. Of course, Sunday Night Football, Brady returning. Could too, but this one for sure, that 4:05 game is definitely marked on my calendars that I would have to either somehow watch it or listen to it. Of course, it's gonna be tough because I'm going to that concert tomorrow, but I'm gonna try my darndest to at least keep a close eye on the score and see how back and forth it is. But if I had to go with anything, both teams are built together offensively and defensively, so I think this is going to be a very low-scoring game.
Yeah,
a very, very low-scoring game. I think it's going to be a very defensive. I think I'm honestly probably going to give the slight edge to the Rams over the Cardinals, only in the sense that both quarterbacks have been tearing it off. But I really do think that Matthew Stafford has something more to prove than probably Kyler Murray does right now.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford's been in the league for so many years. I think he's hungry for a Super Bowl. Kyler Murray is just entered. This is his second year in the league. So, I right? I think second year in the league, or is this his third? I can't remember. Okay, it's his third. I still think that he has a hell of a lot more, left year-wise. Matthew Stafford is heading into his 13th year. He kind of is in that like mentality. I'm in this, new city, new team, new system. Mm-hmm. I'm ready to, have it be Super Bowl or bust type of year. Where Kyler Murray is probably like, hey, I'm still young. I got more, time to grow and get there. Not saying that, this year is a really good, even a strong, like both of these quarterbacks are making strong cases that being in the MVP talks. So,
yep.
I want to. I'm probably going to give the edge to the Rams. I just think that, they kind of scream to have the better overall team right now than the Cardinals do. And I know that's tough for me to say because both teams are good.
Here's the thing. Both teams, I'm going to try to be brief here. We're already running a little late, so I'm just going to be brief here. The Cardinals have a slightly less put-together team than the Rams, as you said. I do think that they got a put-together team, just not as much as Arizona. Can I just also say that I got Christian Kirk in fantasy this week? So this could be good. In a paid league, not in our league. But, so my edge goes to the Rams because they do have the home field advantage. So that, I will say, will play a factor. And I'm also going to bounce off of what you said. You said that Kyler Murray, Matt Stafford are both in the MVP race. I'm saying they are both the front runners of the MVP race right now.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, without question, they're in their own league right now, as far as that goes. We have another NFC West matchup, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to stick with my prediction that all four teams are making the playoffs, despite the Seahawks being 1-2. Seahawks, 49ers with the 2.5 favorite here.
I'm really thinking that after that, loss to Green Bay, San Fran's kind of showing that they really don't have it as together as everybody thinks that they do. Because everybody thinks, San Fran could, be in that Super Bowl discussion or close to that Super Bowl discussion. I don't buy it for a damn minute. Yes, Seattle's struggling to start the season, but they might have the reverse where they struggle at the beginning of the season and then somehow go on a nice little run into the.
Yeah.
I think that's what's going to happen. I'm going to go with Seattle over San Fran, only because Seattle doesn't end up struggling forever.
Yeah,
it's also a new month. Don't be shocked if October ends up being a lot more friendlier than September was for Seattle. So I'm going to go with Seattle over San Fran.
Two teams are having very uncharacteristic starts. One thing they have in common is they're both on the West Coast. Seattle, Kansas City. They are both the teams having the uncharacteristically bad starts. Here's the thing, though. I think only one of them is truly going to bounce back from this to win their division. As of right now, I think Seattle will be a wild card in the playoffs. I'm standing by that prediction. But I'm telling you, though, I think they're going to drop to 1-3 here. I think the 49ers are going to win this game because they're upset that they gave Aaron Rodgers 37 seconds to drive down the field and win the game. They're going to be upset about that. So, again, I'm going to go San Fran because they got something to prove this week. And Jimmy G has a lot to prove this season.
Right.
So
I'm just going to say this now before we do go to, like next two Sunday games before the Sunday night game.
Yeah.
What is with Kyle Shanahan just giving people, like, too much time. Like, you would think he would have learned from his past mistakes, but clearly he has not.
To be honest, though, 37 seconds isn't a lot of time. Okay,
It is for a man that has been in the NFL for quite some time.
But let's be fair. It's not like he gave him a minute and 20, okay? It's not like he gave him double that time. So let's not... I'm just saying, let's not jump it here and say that he didn't, to be honest, this was just unfortunate. It's not up there with Detroit unfortunate. Okay? It's not up there with Detroit, Baltimore unfortunate. That was just unbelievably bad luck for Detroit. Okay? This was just like unfortunate circumstance. I mean, this was just unlucky coincidence.
Oh, and by the way, about Justin Tucker, apparently he did it to Detroit in the past too.
Yeah.
Off of a game-winning field goal.
But yeah, speaking of Justin Tucker, that's actually the next game we got to predict. Ravens-Broncos. Ravens are only a 1-point favorite.
They had the Broncos beating the... Okay, first off, this is their first team that's actually relevant that they're going up against, and they think that the Broncos are going to win? No. Let me tell you something. Baltimore is going to beat Denver. Yes, I get it that they had to deal with Von Miller, and they had to deal with a pretty stocky defensive front in Denver. But Lamar Jackson, I tell you, Lamar Jackson's having himself, like, he's kind of proving that he can actually play quarterback this year, which is pretty scary because, like, Lamar for a couple of years there has been labeled as, oh, well, he's not really that passer, he's more of a runner.
He's still not the greatest passer, though.
I get it. He definitely isn't.
That's the thing.
But the thing is, don't be shocked if Baltimore does beat Denver in the ground. Don't be shocked if Lamar has over 100 yards rushing. I mean, shoot, I would have to if I'm running away from Von Miller.
See, if we're going to go with... Here's the thing. Obviously, I just said I'm going with the Ravens because I agreed with you there. But I will say that Lamar is kind of... I wouldn't go as far to say he's a balanced quarterback. He's an iffy passer. He's a mid-tier passer as far as the quarterbacks go. He's the best scrambler of any of the quarterbacks.
Right.
But, again, he's mid-tier in the passing game. That's where I'll put him. Anyway, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Green Bay Packers. Packers are 6-point favorites. Yeah. I think we know what way we're going here.
Yeah, I definitely do. Especially with Chase Claypool being out in that game against the Packers. I'm definitely going Packers over Pittsburgh. Only because Pittsburgh is just on, again, just like one of those teams where you scratch your head and like, what are they doing wrong?
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
But I really do think that Green Bay has finally found the answer that they've been looking for, and that like it finally being that resurgence. Rodgers looks like he's actually caring to be there, caring to actually play. But how much of that could be also a big ruse, time will tell. But going in with Green Bay over Pittsburgh, I don't think there's any explanation of why that's going to happen. It just, yeah.
Juju and TJ Watt are expected to play on Sunday, by the way. This was just a couple out. Or this was Saturday night from Adam Schefter. So I'm going to tell you right now, TJ Watt, when he's in, he's a game changer.
Okay, now that's a little, that makes it a little different.
I could tell you, if you're getting a fully ready to go TJ Watt, I could make an argument for Pittsburgh winning this game. However, they're going into Lambeau, which is why I'm going to go with Green Bay. Just by, I think 6 points is too generous to Green Bay. I'm going to say 3-point favorites here. It may very well
And
come
who
down
knows?
to a kick.
It very well could be another game-winning field goal from Mr. Mason Crosby there.
And can I just take a shot at my brother here for the Sunday night game? He thinks that New England's going to get obliterated on Sunday. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. I don't know if this is going to happen or not, but I guarantee you New England is going to have some kind of tribute for Tom Brady pregame. Okay, you have to. It's going to be the only time he's going to play in New England in his career on an opposing team. You have to give him something. They're going to butter him up. They're going to try to take advantage of it. I'm not making my pick yet. I'm just saying that they will probably do some kind of buttery, like, soft gesture there. So, but anyway, Tampa Bay, New England. Tampa Bay is a 7-point favorite. And I'm just going to also say this before I let you pick. This is going to be the most watched game, the most watched regular season game of the entire season. I don't even need to see the stories after the game. This will be the number one watched game.
Oh, yeah, of course. It would definitely have to be the most watched game.
If it's not, that's an insult.
Yeah, I happen to say. I just think that Mac Jones is just going to look freaking. I'm just going to. You know what? No, I'm not freaking. I think he's going to fucking look like the worst freaking quarterback ever against Tampa Bay's defense. Like, he's going to look like Justin Fields out there. I'm gonna say he's gonna look like one of the worst rookie quarterbacks ever in mankind against Tampa Bay. So honestly, I'm in agreement with your brother. I really do think that New England is just going to get obliterated. I think because of everything that's happened, and if those experts in that book are true, I think Tom Brady's pissed off from also that loss to the Rams.
Yep.
I think he's pissed off about all the things that led to his potential departure from New England. I think he's going to go into this game and he's going to want to put as many points on the board as he can. Even if it means he's already thrown like 5, 6, 7 touchdowns, he's going to want to put up as many points against his former team as possible. I think he's pissed off. And he wants to prove something to Belichick that I'm not a washed-up 44-year-old quarterback. I can still get the damn job done type of thing.
Can I just point out that maybe Belichick knows things we don't know about Tom Brady, and he could very well expose them in this game?
I mean, he very well could. His defense could very well expose them.
It doesn't matter if he has Walmart cashiers lining up as linemen. He could still put together a top 10 defense with them. I'm just going to say don't write it fully as a New England win. Or, I'm sorry, a Tampa Bay win. Because something tells me... here's the thing. I wouldn't be shocked if New England gets wiped out. I would also not be shocked if New England makes Tom Brady look foolish. Okay? I'm still going with Tampa Bay, but there's things that I just want the answers to, and I think we'll be able to answer them next week when we do our recaps. But, you know, again, I have so many questions entering this game, and I'm telling you, I do not think that Mac Jones is going to look foolish because this Tampa Bay defense has a lot of work they got to do. And it's going to take a bye week to fix that. I mean, they look awful to start the season.
Yeah, but
There's
Mac
no
Jones has only
sugarcoating
looked
it.
good against not so good, so-so teams.
But he's a rookie.
I will say this now. Dolphins are definitely that so-so team. The Jets are that so-so team. But when New England went up against, who they went up against last week, and the Saints, Mac Jones just couldn't get it together at all. against a really good defense.
But he went against a really good defense coached by a really good coach in Sean Payton. Okay? That's the thing. When you have a good coach who's been in this business long enough to know what to do, that's going to happen. Okay, if New England was playing Kansas City this year, there's no doubt that Steve Spagnuolo's blitz would have taken out Mac Jones so many times this year.
True.
That much I will say. So you got to give Mac Jones a little break here on that. So again, I'm going Tampa, but here we go. The game that I took Monday night off for. Thanks to my boss, by the way. Thank you, bud, for the night off. But anyway, Las Vegas Raiders versus the Los Angeles Chargers. The second game this weekend at SoFi Stadium. LA is 3-point favorites. Here we go. Keep in mind, this is Gus Bradley's return to LA.
I really do think this is going to be a hell of a lot closer game than they're thinking. I know, say what you will about, the Raiders, but I just think that the things that they... okay, I will say this now. I will say that the Vegas Raiders are a hell of a lot more credible 3-0 team than the Broncos are.
I will say...
I'm going to say that. I'm going to say that right then and there.
Here's the thing. I will say in a tier, they're in the second tier of undefeated teams. Okay. You've got LA and Arizona up here. You've got Las Vegas in the middle. Then you've got the Broncos and the Panthers in tier 3. Right now. You could make an argument for the Panthers in tier 2. That I will say.
Right.
But you can't make any...
But I will...
You can't make any sound argument for the Broncos being in the top tier, let alone the second tier.
Nope. But I will say this now. Herbert looked really, really good against the Chiefs. I wouldn't expect anything less from him against the Raiders.
Can I point out that the Chiefs have averaged about a 20th place defense probably in the last 3 to 4 years? They've shown very little signs of improvement outside of Tyrann Mathieu and Jones. Okay, so how much did he really show?
True.
But anyway, I'll let you finish what you were saying.
And then the Vegas Raiders also, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't say they had the best defense in the world either. It's been mostly like their offense just outshining. I mean, I don't even really say out. They just been, I guess, putting on a clinic. Derek Carter's been having a really good. He's also leading the league in passing yards, too. Among quarterbacks, which I think is crazy. But, I mean, of course, of the receivers that he has, Zay Jones, Henry Ruggs III, Hunter Renfrow. I mean, even the tight end there. I mean, he's got like pretty good offense around him. But the thing is, like, the Chargers also have a really good defense. Yeah, there was probably some, question marks there, a couple of weeks, here and there. But I'm definitely going with the Chargers. I think it's going to be a really close game. And honestly, I really do think that it's going to be an offensive, very high-scoring offensive back-and-forth game. Don't be shocked if it leads into, like, whoever wins this game was the team that has the ball last type of thing.
That's going to be this game, I think.
I think so.
But I will say, as good as Justin Herbert has looked, he's made some pretty dumb decisions this year.
Yeah.
Okay,
I won't.
It's a part of the growing pains.
I won't disagree.
It's a part of the growing pains. I'll give him a very slight benefit of the doubt here. I will also say that Mike Williams is having a career year right now.
Oh, of course.
Mike Williams is finally showing why he was a first-round pick. Do I think he's better than Keenan Allen? By no stretch of the imagination is he better than Keenan Allen. Okay, Keenan Allen has proven thus far this year he is a top 5 receiver, and people better start recognizing that as true, okay? It's so disrespectful how much he gets snubbed. So that I will say. But here's the issue, though. How much does Gus Bradley have on Justin Herbert that he can use in this game? Okay, that's the one thing that scares me because he's worked with this team for so long. He probably has pages of notes that he can use against Keenan Allen, against Mike Williams, and especially against Austin Eckler and Justin Herbert. Okay?
True.
Maybe not as big of a notebook on Justin Herbert as the other 3. But if he can take those 3 out of the game, he can take Justin Herbert out of the game easily. So, that said, the other thing is that the Chargers, it may not be this year, but they certainly have a no-fly zone right now because they've got Harris, Adderley, Derwin James, Asante Samuel. They've got 4 great defensive backs that just, let's put it this way. They got 4 defensive backs that could make up the best secondary in the league in the next year or two. Okay? We could make that argument, honestly, because Derwin James is a tough guy to beat out. Okay, Adderley is an okay safety. He's mid-tier. You've got Harris, who has proven... You've got Chris Harris, who's proven for years that he's a decent cornerback. And then you've got Asante Samuel out here diving for interceptions on Patrick Mahomes. Okay, so I'm going to lean... Here's the thing, I'm going to lean toward the Raiders, though. Because I'm worried about what Gus Bradley has up his sleeve. Because something tells me he's got some notes there. And something tells me he's been helping the offense a lot through this week's practice. Something tells me he's had a big involvement in this week's practices. And a bigger one than
I'm sure he has.
And on top of it, something tells me that we're going to see some terrible officiating on Monday night. That'll screw over LA. So something tells me when we're back here next Sunday, I will be screaming about the officials again.
Yeah, probably.
But anyway, we are well over an hour and a half this week, so let's just get on to Tinkle on this. Or actually, shoot, we do have a Thursday night matchup. Let's make this quick, though, because it's also 11:51 at night when we're finishing this up. I got to get this rendered. Rams-Seahawks, the first great Thursday night matchup of the season. Rams are 1.5 favorite.
1.5?
Yep.
Oh.
1.5.
Yeah. I would go with the Rams or the Seahawks.
Yep. Rams.
Yes, it would be tough for me to see, like, I'm going potentially 5-0 to start this year. But don't be shocked if they do lose to the Cardinals and then on a short week, which would be tough, lose and then play a short week and then have to go up against another division.
Yep.
But don't be shocked if they do lose to the Cardinals, go on that short week, are pissed off, but don't have as much of a playbook short week. Go against Seattle and beat them. I honestly think that could happen. But don't be shocked if they somehow go 5-0 to start the year.
All right.
Looking real hot as a team.
Oh, yeah. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to go Rams, basically what you said. Just like Rams. I said, I would elaborate, but we're on a tight time schedule right now. So let's get on to Tinkle on this. Rick Touche, He is one of the analysts of NHL on TNT. By the way, they had a pretty decent debut from what I heard. Zach Carmine talked about it on Friday Night Tinkle. Go check that out. I believe he'll be back this Friday night as well. But Rick Touche, he was practicing getting boarded against the walls, and he said, I wish the players would fight back, kick him. And he lifted his back leg and kicked Liam McHugh in the nuts. By the way, I know I said earlier I miss Liam McHugh, and I can't stress this enough. TNT, man, why did you have to poach Liam McHugh? You should have left him at NBC. Come on. He was great on Sunday Night Football. So, but anyway, Rick Touche kicks Liam McHugh in the nuts on the first NHL on TNT broadcast. Told the fans, I want to see players fight back after a cross-check. And that's when he kicked Liam McHugh in the nuts. So, for that, tinkle on this Liam McHugh. I don't know how much tinkling on that you're going to be doing after getting kicked in the nuts. But thanks, Zach Carmine, for the idea this week. It was kind of a tough week to pick one.
Yes, thank you, Zachy.
Anyway, want to thank you for watching. Tune in Tuesday, Wednesday for our other shows. Tune in Friday for Friday Night Tinkle, and we will see you back here on Sunday for Tinkle Sports Talk. Until then, guys, goodbye, everyone.